Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to talk about the significance of referencing, right? If you would have read any of the research papers up till now, you would have realized that in every research work you'll find some of these numbers, right? Starting from 1, 2, 3, then somewhere along the line you have 4, then you have 5, and then in the end you have a list of references, right? The 1 to 11 supposedly, and they are written in a particular format as per the journal or the conference, right? So why do we do that? I mean, what is the reason of referencing? Why do we have to say and use these numbers? So ideally every number here represents an entry in the reference, right? So number 1 will represent an entry in the reference, number 2 will represent another entry, and number 3 will point to another entry in the list of your references. And ultimately this list becomes the source pool of your information. Source pool of your information. Matlab, in order to make any kind of work, in order to work on any kind of a topic, you will have to read something, है ना? हमें पहले उसके बारे में पता होना चाहिए. You will be reading some basic preliminary stuff. कुछ basic भी पढ़ोगे, क्या होता है? Maybe books पढ़ो, कुछ cutting edge पढ़ लोगे, right? कुछ newspaper reports होंगी, कुछ कंपनीज इंटरनेशनल जो फर्म्स हैं उनके स्टैटिस्टिक्स होंगी, कुछ कमेंट्रीज होंगी. देयर वुड बी सम पीपल हु आर लेजेंडरी इन देयर वर्क, उनका काम होगा. सो देयर आर सो मेनी सोर्सेज ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डेटाबेसेस हैं, ऑफलाइन डेटाबेसेस हैं, बुक्स हैं, मैगजीन हैं. there are a lot, I mean to say there are a lot of these sources of information. What is it that you are choosing? तो supposedly यहाँ से आपने 5 एंट्रीज उठाई, यहाँ से 5 उठाई, यहाँ से 5 उठाई. बुक्स में से आपको लगा 2 की ज़रूरत है, यहाँ से 5 उठाई. Statistics, supposedly you said that at least 10 references of statistics I need. So this way you're going to pick up few references and you're going to read about the topic. एंड इट इज़ नॉट लाइक कि मैंने पहले 20 पेपर पढ़े तो मैं वही रेफरेंस करूँगा, ऐसा नहीं होता. दिस रेफरेंस लिस्ट इज ऑल्सो आइटरेटेड, राइट? बाय द टाइम यू रीच द एंड ऑफ योर टॉपिक यू विल हैव टू सी विच ऑफ द रेफरेंसेज आर suitable for your work, which of the references are strengthening the arguments that you are making in the work, right? Only those you're going to use. That is why ये भी process है अपने आप में, ढूंढना और उन्हीं पेपर को साइट करना जिनकी सिग्निफिकेंस. Now what happens is supposedly you made your paper and then you send it for review, and the reviewer is also going to search for some papers, given the title, the reviewer is also going to search. Now most of the times what happens is reviewer is going to find out a list of 10 or 20 papers or maybe 2 or 3 very important works. These are like keynote works which cannot be possibly missed, right? So the reviewer knows, because reviewer is very brilliant, so the reviewer knows that these 2 to 3 works are very significant, and broadly he will also make a list of 10-20 paper. अगर तो ये 2 और 3 पेपर यहाँ अवेलेबल हैं, if you have cited these 2 or 3 papers, then it is fine, and maybe you used 10 out of these 20 papers, right? So the chances are that the reviewer is going to accept your paper, right? The reviewer is going to say that maybe, more or less it is acceptable. However, if this happens that none of these papers are cited in your work, no citation of these important papers, जो ये 2 से 3 थे जो ज़रूरी थे, which were like must haves, and they are not cited, so the reviewer is going to ask you a question about it, that why have you not cited, and it will also give an implication or a general overview, a general vibe to the reviewer that the person is not very familiar with the topic. That is why they have not used it. So sometimes reviewers are generous, they politely ask that why have you not cited, but sometimes they are not nice, so they are directly going to reject. They are going to say that the concerned person does not even know about the key competent works in this area, how can I accept the paper? So it would be rejected. Many times ये जो 10 से 20 का list होता है, it should also sync well, right? So reviewers do such kind of things. They look for valid data and then they figure out whether the data used by the researcher or the claims made by the researcher are up to the mark or not, right? If they are not up to the mark, the paper would be rejected. Now different formats for using references, right? So there is APA, there is MLA, there is IEEE, the multiple depending upon the scope of your conference or journal, right? That is why it is very important to know what is it that you're targeting so that you can start working accordingly. I will show you few examples of references, right? So let's go to Google Scholar. For example, देखो यहाँ पे I'm just clicking this because the PDF is available. If you can see that PDF is available for this paper, blockchain meets covert communication, and this is a survey. And if you can see the second one also, unfolding the blockchain era timeline. So they have made a timeline, right? You look at the title, how beautiful it is. They're talking about the unfolding of blockchain era. Era is something that is encompassing of a time unit or a timeline, right? अपने आप में era बहुत लंबे time का वो होता है. Era हम उसको बोलते हैं, right? So they're saying unfolding the blockchain era. Now this is where your creative, intelligence can also come into picture. You can have very beautiful and meaningful titles, right? It is not mandatory that everything should be very, very technical or whatever. The way they've written unfolding the blockchain era is nice. So then they're saying timeline, so we can know that timeline would be proposed in this as and when this happened. After timeline you have evolution. So they're going to talk about the evolution, how it has evolved over the period of last 5 years or last 10 years or last 15 years. Then they're talking about the types. So we are going to talk about the types of blockchain, public, private, whatever. And then we're going to talk about the real world applications, right? So in this paper, the scope is very, very clear that what would be present. And you can decode the abstract. Not the right time to do. So let's go to this particular paper because I want to tell you the significance of referencing. Yeah. So this is how you can access papers as well. And if you come to the university and log in using the current infrastructure, you will find that a lot of journals and a lot of conferences provide data free of cost to our university because we've already purchased their subscriptions, right? So sometimes if things are not working out, I would request that you should log in through your GEU ID and then see whether it is working or not. For example, this is not opening. Yeah, see, search for an institution. So you can get all of these when you're connected through college's internet or college's ID that they've provided. Anyways, we can go for any other paper. For example, if I can have this one. So they've named it Talwar, blockchain based. This is also not working. Let me see. This will work. There are multiple electronic databases that are present, right? So I will tell you about that also. But as of now, you find and you work with whatever you can find, right? So this is a research article. And let's talk about the referencing. As you can see, there are no references in the abstract. There is no need to put references in abstract and conclusion, so avoid that. We don't use references in abstract and conclusion. However, we do use references in the introduction. So if you can look at the first line, with the rapid spread of COVID-19 around the world, the healthcare industry has accelerated the shift to digital healthcare services. Now this is a one concrete statement that is saying that the spread of COVID-19 is rapid spread of COVID-19 around the world. Then there is a full stop. The healthcare industry has accelerated the shift to digital healthcare services. Now, you cannot just write such kind of statements out of nowhere, right? There has to be some sort of support that must be provided for a given statement. So, this statement ke andar we have cited one or two. Now, let's go down and see what is one or two. That will put everything in context, right? So, this is the list of references, and you can see that 1 or 2 is this. Number 1 is telehealth in the context of COVID-19, changing perspectives in Australia, United Kingdom and United States. Now this is an article published in 2020 in the Journal of Medical Internet Research, right? Second one is use of electronic health records to support a public health response to the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States, a perspective from 15 academic medical centers. Now these are the two works that they are saying that we have read, and we are using these words to make that claim that COVID has spread rapidly across the world, and that has led to a rapid incorporation of electronic medical electronic healthcare services, right? Digital healthcare services. So these two claims are made and they are justified by using these two statements. Next, again, you'll see that there is another line. However, due to the inherent properties of the cloud, such as centralization and openness, cloud-assisted medical data systems will face new privacy and security challenges. Now they are again putting up a claim. They are saying that okay, electronic or digital healthcare services, we are migrating to digital healthcare services, but considering cloud and other digital technologies that are emerging, they're saying that there are issues regarding privacy and security. So there are challenges with respect to the privacy and security of the data. And again, this is a question or this is a claim. A claim is being made that because of cloud so and so, right? And if you're making such a claim, you cannot just simply make it, right? You have to double enforce it by using information which is already published, right? You can say that so and so have already said it, and then you can make your statement. Obviously lines would not be same, but the essence would be same. Now if we go back to the third reference here, it will be something related to privacy and security of cloud. See, where is it? Yeah, blockchain, a panacea for healthcare, cloud-based data security and privacy. Now in this paper they must have talked about the different kind of implications that cloud related challenges can have on the data that we are storing using blockchain, right? So this reference also becomes important. Like this, if you keep on reading, you will keep on understanding that the scope of these references keep on becoming very sharp and sharp, right? For example, if you see at this number 7, this is the basic, this is the first white paper that was released for blockchain, and it was released in 2008, and it was written by Satoshi Nakamoto, and the name of the paper was Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Now this is where blockchain was proposed, right? And ideally, as a person who is working in the area of blockchain, I must know about this, and as a reviewer, I'm going to expect this reference, right? That is why it becomes very important to trace everything from scratch. Basics say we start reading and then we start developing. So ideally, for every paper, it's not important. The number of references is not important, right? You might have such questions, that number of references, how many should I have? How many should I have, right? As many as are required to support the arguments that you're making in the paper. Sometimes you only need 10 papers. Sometimes you only require 10. Sometimes you require 20. Sometimes you require 30 or 40 papers. This keeps on varying. It really depends on the title, right? If there is a lot of work where you are proposing new stuff, where you are ideally giving a lot of new stuff, then there would be lesser number of references. Yes. Then there would be lesser number of references. On the other hand, if you are reviewing something, for example, some area or some topic, then you're going to have more number of references. For example, 40 is also going to be a lesser number when you're going to review any kind of area or any kind of topic. Moving on to the formats, if you go to Google Scholar again, you will see, for example, any paper I want to cite. Let's go here. So you're going to search for the paper, whatever is it that you want, and then you can see this button, this cite wala button, which you have to use to cite the paper, right? So this is the button that you have to click. The moment you click this button, see, you're going to have this list of different formats that are available for this particular paper. So there is MLA, there is APA, there is Chicago format, there is Harvard format, there is Vancouver format. Any reference that you want, you can simply copy it and paste it in your document. Another approach is to go on these references. So if you're using EndNote, you can click on EndNote and it is going to give you a file that can be imported into EndNote. Usually we go for this particular version, RefMan, which we use in Mendeley, right? So Mendeley is something that we're going to use, and you can simply click on this. The moment you click on this, for example, I have clicked on this, it is going to download a small file, right? .ras format and this file I can simply import in my reference manager and then I can use it. then I can use it by using any of the keywords or any of the names. I don't have to remember each and everything, because what happens is most of the times, like, you are working on a paper and in the introduction section you have written 8 paragraphs, and in those 8 paragraphs you have put 14 references, right? Now these 14 references, order of these references can change. Supposedly I said that this is not making sense, rewrite it. So that means you'll have to reshuffle everything, right? 1 2 3 4 numbers will also be reshuffled, and doing that same thing manually in your reference list is very difficult. So ideally we use a reference manager, which I'm going to talk about in my next video. And these reference managers make it very, very easy to work around data, to see where to put or where not to put any kind of reference. So concluding this, what is the significance of references? See, ideally you can go out on the road itself and you can start shouting anything that you want to. No one is going to listen, because there is no support, or there is no, I would say, reinforcements. But on the other hand, if you go with 10-20 people who can make some space for you and announce you're coming and then give you a mic, then that gives a different impression, right? That the person might have something to say. Similarly, when we talk about technical writing, it is not just about, writing 5, 10, 15, 20 or 100 incomplete lines which don't even make sense. It is about delivering very specific arguments with regard to a topic that you have carefully conceived in your head. And in order to do that, you need information. You cannot do that without information. Hypothetically, blockchain is not coming in your mind. IoT is not coming in your mind. It is coming because you've read it somewhere. So you start reading and you start exploring and you start making a reference list, right? Initially, it can be broad. Maybe you can have 100 papers, and then it can be made, it can be narrowed down to further 20 or 30 or maybe 10, doesn't matter. As long as the arguments made in the paper are supported by valid references, it is perfectly fine. There is no, bar to that number. However, depending upon the depth of a work, I may ask you that either you have to increase the references or you have to decrease the references. That will depend on the scope of your work, right? If you are touching something which needs more reading, I would ask you to expand your references and you will have to read more. On the other hand, if it is more about proposing or creating things from your own intellect, then I might ask you to reduce the number of references, right? Any number that you are putting, any number, any definition, any theory or any argument that you are making, all of these must be supported by references. Please remember that. If you're not doing that, chances are your article would be rejected. And if you're doing that, 2 things are happening from that. One, you're making your own point strong. You're saying that, yes, this argument is correct because so and so people have already said it. Second, you're reducing the chances of or likelihood of rejection, because you're already basing your arguments on top of the arguments made by other people. So usually what happens is we have references in introduction. I would say 5 to 10, not many, 5 to 10 references. In related work or literature review, you have enough references, maybe around 20, 5 to 20 can be the range. Then your further sections are all going to have references, However, in discussion, you can have maybe no references, that is your choice, or lesser number of references, because when we are discussing something, we are putting our viewpoint forward, right? But still sometimes happen that whatever we are saying is also, agreeing with some other work. So putting references is not going to hurt you. Future directions is also something that you may or may not reference. It's totally up to you. However, abstract and conclusion are those 2 things where no referencing should be there. Because ideally abstract is an abstracted version of your work. It is just telling what the reader is going to find in the work, and conclusion is a conclusory piece of your work. So both of those things are very unique to you. That means there is no need to have other people's arguments to support that abstract and that conclusion and that title. That is why we don't put references in title, in abstract and in conclusion. However, in other sections, whenever you're making a claim, whenever you're using a number, whenever you are using a theory or a definition or maybe a concept, you have to put references to make it strong. So that is all. Thank you very much. We'll see each other in next video.